Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee Talk. I'm Dennis Gebhart with Guru Village, and I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Hey, Michael, good morning. How are you?
I'm great. Did you have a nice hiatus since we've been off for three weeks?
I did. We've been very, very busy. We're going to make some announcement about that today. And we have a special guest.
Yes, we do.
Today we have Carla Jones with us. Good morning, Carla. How are you?
Good morning. I am absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's great that you are joining us, and we're very excited about the reason that Carla's here today. Not only the opportunity so that you get to meet her and know a little bit about her, but as all of you know, Guru Village is constantly looking for individuals that are like-minded, that think the same way that we do, that are looking to improve the industry. And we got connected with Carla, and we've been spending lots of time talking to her about doing some things together. And so we formed an alliance with Carla and her company. And I'm going to let Carla tell you all about that in just a little bit. But we're very excited because what that does is simply give you, the salon professional, another additional resource that's going to help you find that pathway to success. So without further ado, I want to again say to Carla, why don't you give us a little bit of your background? Would you tell us a little bit about where you come from?
Oh, man. Excluded of my parents, where I come from. No.
Yes. You know, I'd like to thank my mom and dad for having me.
Thank you, Mom and Dad. There's a trophy. Okay. All right.
Very good.
Okay. Well, guys, I tell you what, first again, thank you. This is such a joy and a privilege. And especially, we don't do this enough in the alliance and the partnering. And so I'm really honored that I think as we're evolving as an industry and we're seeing that we can do more together than apart.
Right.
And so thanks so much for Guru Village and Coffee Talk.
Coffee Talk.
Yes. Okay, so little bit about me. I'm not your traditional hairstylist, I'll so to say. I didn't come in the industry. I didn't graduate from high school. I didn't play with the baby dolls, cut up everyone. I had no family members that were in the beauty industry. To the contrary, all of my family members, especially on my mom's side, were actually college graduate and they were teachers. My dad was a teacher, so I went the traditional college route. It was an expectation. You're going to graduate from high school, you're going to college, and that was just it. And so let's say, yes, that's the path that I took, went to college, graduated. My first job was with General Motors out of Pontiac, Michigan in manufacturing. So I started off in the plant as a manufacturing supervisor. And so I stayed in manufacturing for about 7 years. Did a little stint with Pfizer Pharmaceuticals in sales back in Michigan in Flint territory area. And then one day walking in the mall, where we like to be, walking in the mall. This was in the late 80s. And I stumbled upon Merrill Norman. And at the time, this was when the nail industry was taking off. And I was a nail biter. And so I saw these women sitting at this table, didn't know what they were doing. So I walked up, watched, and I absolutely fell in love. I didn't know anything about it, but the transformation of what I saw this one technician do to this lady's hands, I couldn't wait. So I made an appointment with that one technician that I just sort of connected with. Took me 3 months to get an appointment. She was that booked.
Wow.
And I waited patiently. And when I got my first set of nails on, I could not stop. I don't even know how I drove home because literally I'm like, oh my God, I wasn't one of those nail biters that looked like a nail biter, but I was a nail biter. And so she just transformed my hands. But it was during a conversation on one of my appointments where you ask, what are you, how long have you been doing this or what was required? Now, mind you, I knew nothing about the beauty industry, absolutely nothing. And so she said, well, I went to school for 240 hours and that got me right there. And I said, 240 hours, and I pointed to the clock. I said, clock hours? She said, yeah. I mean, are you kidding me? And she said, well, I only work for 5 hours a day because she worked in the evenings. Her husband worked during the day. They had 2 small children. That got me right there. And so she said, well, last year, I said, well, if you don't mind me asking, how much do you make part-time? She said, oh, well, last year I grossed $37,000. Wait. So then I said, I'm working for General Motors. It took me 7 years to finish my college degree.
Yes.
And I was making $39,000. Light bulb. Are you kidding me? You get to make your own hours. You work 5 hours a day. I'm working sometimes 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, no break for $39,000. That's when the bug hit me.
Right.
And so that was in 87, 88. I then went to another company, which was the Thermos company in Freeport, Illinois. So Michael, that's actually how I got to Freeport.
Right.
And so I was again in manufacturing, but in Illinois at the time, the late 80s, early 90s, nail technicians weren't required to have a license.
Right.
So I could just start taking classes. So I started going to the Midwest show. I found a nail tech there who was giving me more, classes I could go to. And so I began to learn how to do nails. And when they passed the law that you had to go to school or to get licensed, I could have been grandfathered in, but I chose to go to school because I felt there were still things that I needed to learn.
Right.
And so I chose a school in Chicago. And when I got there, the owner of the school, when they're doing the interview and they find out your background. Well, by this time, this was 1993, I had also acquired a master's degree in business. So when he found out that I had the background and the degrees, it was his recommendation that I go to cosmetology school. Now, I had no interest in hair whatsoever. None. None. I just wanted my little 350 hours and let me be gone. But he said one word to me that changed the whole course of my thinking. And he said, with your background, your experience, your degrees, you would have multiple options if you would take a full cosmetology program. And that one word, options, was all that he needed to say. Right. I didn't even know what the options were, but I just knew that I didn't want to be pigeonholed. And that is actually the true story of how I got into this industry. I've never regretted it since. There were 3 reasons. One is it provided me the flexibility that I wanted. I could set my schedule and my pay. Okay. And I could take as much time off as I wanted to. Right. And be with my daughter. So now I didn't have to ask the boss, could I take Tuesday off to go on a field trip with my daughter? Those were the 3 main reasons that really drove me to the beauty industry. It was not, because I was this great artist.
Right.
Well, you should see her do a set of nails, though.
Yeah.
Truly. Oh, man.
Truly. That is still my passion.
Well, you were an artist for Easy Flow, right?
Yes, I was actually an artist for Easy Flow. I was an educator for Easy Flow Nail Systems. I was also ranked 13th in 2002 nail competitors. So I did compete in nails. Yeah.
That's fabulous. Mm-hmm. So, the interesting thing I see happening here, Carla, is like your pathway was different than many of our pathways. Mm-hmm. However, when you got to the opening, when you got into the industry, yes, you had some credentials there that many salon professionals never have the opportunity to get.
Right.
So many of them, they go to beauty school and that's the extent usually of their foundational education. But you came with a lot of other tools which made you very viable in this industry.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I did. And I've stayed that course, to be honest. Now, one of the things, because I'm such an A-type personality, I am OCD, and I'm not going to start anything if I can't finish it, I don't start it. And when I do start it, I've got to be the best. I've got to be the best to my standards, right? Right. So even though hair was not what I went to school for, it was not going to outdo me.
Right. Good.
Right. So it was not going to outdo me. And so I did.
She can butter a wig too.
I absolutely, I've done all of that in the industry. Owned my first salon actually was a small independent salon, and then I had some booth renters. I worked that for several years, grew the business, and then I borrowed like $100,000 and did a full service salon in Freeport, Illinois. From there, I opened a school for 6 years. So I had a nail school and a cosmetology school.
Wow.
I've always stayed on the business side of our industry in terms, because that's my background. Right. And it's also one of the weakest areas for us as beauty industry professionals. And unfortunately, it's not a strong enough curriculum in our beauty schools. We have still yet to really focus on providing students with, the fundamentals of business from a pure business perspective.
Right.
Yeah,
I totally agree. That's one of the things that we discuss a lot, is that there were so many missing pieces because they were so busy trying to teach us to pass a state exam. As long as I can get you to pass the exam, I feel that I've done my job. Whereas there was so many other things that if I were to go in and people were to say, how would you change the curriculum? It would be like a 4-year college. Yes. It would have to be, because those missing pieces are so valuable, and so many people don't realize that until they've been out in the industry and struggling for 5 to 7 years, some of them even more, 15 or 18 years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And because the fundamentals were not there.
It's chemistry fundamentals, even for nails.
Yeah.
For, the stuff you put on people's nails is really probably more toxic than the stuff we put on their scalp.
Yeah.
They're right up there together. They're pretty wild.
That, and then the business portion.
Yeah.
And just even, I think some art classes would definitely help with creating a whole look.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's just, if I have a whole tablet that is devoted just to writing the curriculum. If I could wipe the slate clean and start the whole industry over.
Erase, yes.
What I would do. And it's, it would be a minimum of a 4-year program.
Right.
And just to that point, not to, stay there, but I think one of the things too, when we take a look at the instructors, I'm a licensed instructor. Michael, you're a licensed instructor. Dennis, I don't know if you have your instructor's license, but the thing when you look at it is teachers can only teach to what they know.
Exactly.
And most of them don't know business well enough to even say, I can really teach you this because I don't know. And I tell people all the time, people can only teach to the level of their knowledge or experience, and that's it.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
So, and that's how Carla and I really met.
Yes.
Is when she came to Educators of Beauty in Rockford, and I was teaching there. And I had already had I had already gone back and got my license to teach. And so one day they said, this is Carla Jones. She's going to be your student teacher. And I said,
Yeah, Michael was my teacher.
Isn't that great?
Yes. He was, but let me tell you, I learned so much. Oh my gosh. And then the tables turned because he was the second teacher I hired from my school.
Isn't that great?
Yes, he was.
Yeah. God.
So we've been friends ever since.
Right. Yeah. So Carla, tell us a little bit about your company.
Okay. Well, Salon Solutions Group has actually been a baby of mine for probably over 10 years, but I never really gave it a name until about 4 years ago.
Right.
And so I was in Mobile, Alabama as a campus president for a for-profit college, which was Fortis College. They've got campuses all throughout the United States. And they were actually closing my campus, and I was doing a teach out of my campus. And so on August 2nd, 2013, I sort of took them the keys. All the students had graduated. I packed up a U-Haul and I headed to Atlanta. I had chosen to come here because it was large in the beauty industry, and it was also large. It was a large entrepreneurial hub.
Right.
And so I decided that I for the first time, I had to really analyze my skill sets for me. We usually do a resume for other people in other positions. And I decided at that time, I said, you know what? I'm a little too old to be getting laid off. You work 30 years, and this was the first time I was like, okay, I don't now have a job.
Right.
So I sat down and I did a self-assessment, and I said, where have you spent the majority of your time and in doing what? And the majority of my years have been in the beauty industry, over 23 years of, my year corporate life, have been in the beauty industry at various levels. So I decided, and it was mostly, you know, salon and corporate or education. So because I loved the teaching aspect, because I loved the consulting, because I had worked for places like L'Oreal USA, Sachin Carson division as a director of education, because I was the first national director of clinic for Empire. I was a regional director for them of the Kentucky market and the Illinois market. So most of mine have been managing profit and loss statements and budgets for multi-million or billion-dollar companies. So I said, why can't I take that knowledge and where would it be best served? And so I had a choice. I said, you know what? I could target the large salons as a consultant, but that, in my mind, that space was already owned by Neil Dukoff. Okay, Neil had been entrenched in the mid-range to the large salons doing the same thing, right? He and I have very similar backgrounds in terms of being in corporate and that kind of thing. And I said the most underserved class was the independent salon artists and the very small salons. And so no one is serving them in the capacity that Neil is servicing the larger salon owners. So Neil focuses on employee-based operations, and I focus on employee or independent based businesses for the beauty industry. So it barber, nail tech, whatever. And so I focus on helping them build sustainable and profitable businesses through, and this is my tagline for Salon Solutions Group, is industry elevation through business education. And Wonderful. So that's what I do. So I have various programs that I help them really understand it's more than just hair. So what I like to look at is I like to bring the science aspect to the art. Right. So, and blend those, and the science being the business acumen to the industry arts.
Right. So, so if I were to ask you, what is one of the weakest points when you look at the industry, especially with independent contractors or small salons where they have maybe a couple of employees, what do you think, if you had to pinpoint, I know there's several, but if you had to pinpoint what you think the weakest point is where most of us miss the boat, or where you think you can help them strengthen what they're doing?
I am going to jump out on a limb because I don't think anybody would think this first, because I think we think about the performance metrics first.
Right.
But where I see that they really miss the boat is defining their brand before they start. Who do I want to be in the industry, and who do I want to serve? Right. And until they really hone in on those two pieces, they'll never be able to charge what they quote we're worth. Because oftentimes what we're thinking is, I just need to do hair and I need a customer. But who is my customer? Because every customer has a price point. So if I want to be $100 per ticket customer, I can't be targeting the customer who's only willing or have a pay threshold, as I call it, of $8.75. Right. So I think that if I would go with branding, because branding is the whole basis of how we build our business, who we decide we are, how we connect who we are to a customer, how we identify who our customer is, what our price point is, what market we should be in. It all starts with branding.
All right, great. Well, thank you for that. Super.
You're welcome.
Michael, any questions you have for Carla?
I do. Where do you see yourself in Salon Solutions Group in 5 years from now?
Okay, 5 years from now, I am sitting on an island in Bora Bora. Okay. So, in all honesty, my whole desire when I came into consulting full time in the beauty industry was to build my business from a digital platform. Even though I do have some one-on-one coaching, I love the teaching aspect, and I love being able to serve the masses. So my whole desire is not to be a one-on-one coach, but to be able to develop programs and platforms where I can teach a multitude of people. So the one-to-many concept. So in 5 years, this is what I actually see. I actually see We Create Elite being a premier educational platform for the entrepreneur. And I'm also building out some digital platforms for educators as well as marketing. So in a nutshell, 5 years from now, I would hope to have some educational programs and platforms that my ladies would be tapping on my door trying to buy.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Great.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. So that's where I see. So Salon Solutions Group will evolve into a probably a digital kind of platform where we're writing curriculums for instructors from the standpoint of teaching methodology and also having a marketing and business program for students.
Right. Well, I truly believe that digital platforms are the future of our industry.
Well, and it's because you can reach a large group. Plane.
Right. And yes. And
you don't have to go anywhere.
Right. Look how we're able to connect. I mean, think about it. Years ago, this was something that was only done in large corporations.
Right.
And they paid thousands of dollars to have this virtual connection.
Yes, they do.
Well, and we have students from Albania, the United Kingdom.
Oh my gosh.
Canada.
Awesome?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Australia. Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
I mean, the way we have, when they truly say
it's amazing
that we're global and our reach is global, technology has really allowed us. And that's one thing that I really want, beauty industry professionals is to really get on board with finding customers in the world, out in the world. How do I service? Because people will travel, believe you me.
Oh, they certainly will.
They will travel for the right person. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, once you know yourself and you're able to identify yourself. But I truly believe that what you bring to the table is a lot of information that they really can't access in very many places. I mean, there's a few individuals that, I know them mutually. We know them together. Neil Dukoff, you mentioned Neil's name. He's one of the few people. I know Michael Cole does some programs. Right. But there's not a lot of people that are really doing that type of education for salon professionals. And I think a lot of salon professionals don't realize the need for that.
Right.
And you have to really, that's why they have issues. That's why when you say, what is your profit margin, and they have no idea what that is, or what is your cost of product to service, they have no idea what that is, and that's why many of salon professionals are operating in a negative cash flow.
Absolutely.
Because cost of product is eating them up, and they don't know that, and by the time they realize that, what is it said, death by 1,000 cuts? By the time they realize that, it's almost too late. They're almost completely underwater.
Well, that doesn't elevate our profession to have so many failures.
No, it does
in our industry. And that it just doesn't. It does, when everybody succeeds, we all do better.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And when you look at it as well, I think for so long they have just been taught, and I mean, we were all students, right? We were all students.
Right.
And when I can think back, the majority of the comments that I heard was, when you graduate, build the clientele. Okay, so I built the clientele, now what? Now I have customers coming. But how do I manage? How do I know? I mean, nobody talked to us about building a budget. No one mentioned about the cash flow. No one talked about the importance of an average ticket price. No one talked about evaluating and the cost of inventory, right? Inventory has a cost.
Yes, it does.
So no one even talked about that. So while we're all going to spend $500 at the store because someone said you needed all these colors, well, is that a percentage of a color? I mean, what percentage of your clients even use that color? Now you've expended money that you probably could have invested somewhere else at this time, to really grow the business. So it is just, and unfortunately, like you said, there is no one speaking to the solo owner, the indie owner, whatever you want to call it, the small entrepreneur in those terms.
Right.
And I think that's why we're still having a problem. I think this is one of the reasons salon owners who have employees are struggling getting the right employees, because they don't understand how they impact a business and why a business has to be structured, and why they say, everything is measured. Not just the product is measured, but your performance is measured.
Right.
How many people, the average ticket price, the percentage of retail sales to the total sales, all of these things roll up into making a business profitable. And I think what we spend too much time in is saying, how many people do I have in my book? Okay, well, it doesn't matter, really. I mean, how many you have if they're not priced right?
You know, if you got 2 of them at, you know, $1,000 a piece, that's pretty good.
Right, but
you don't need a whole lot.
but there are not a lot of Ted Gibsons, right, who are getting $1,000 or $1,250 a client.
Right, so, and the thing they don't talk about either is how do you hold on to them?
Exactly.
You can get them in the door, but how do you hold on to them? You know, they did a survey and they found that 83% of the reason that clients return to hairdressers has nothing to do with their talent.
No.
It has to do with the experience.
The experience and how they connected with the artist.
You bet.
And stylists.
There has to be an emotional connection.
There has to be. That's what brands. And when you look at an individual artist, they are a brand, even if they're employed. That person, that customer has fallen in love with that person who happens to be employed, and they enjoy coming there, and they are a big part of that. And I tell people all the time, I said, you know, recruitment is something that starts outside of the salon. Retention is impacted totally by the experience inside the salon.
Amen.
So when someone decides not to return, it wasn't because you didn't say hi at the grocery store. It's because something that happened during their visit or their experience with someone connected in that salon on the phone or whatever was not the greatest.
Right.
That's And so.
And how they perceive value could be a myriad of things. It does. It's not necessarily on your talent.
Right.
It could be a number of things.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the easiest thing to do that stylists don't do is survey your clients and find out what they expect, what they want, why they chose you.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deliver or continue to deliver on what you don't know they expect if you've never had the conversation.
Right. Well, and I think they're afraid of that because I find in our industry, since I've been in the business, which has been a long time, is that they think that every client is a friend. And you have to understand they're not.
No.
Okay, they're a client. So you build a business relationship instead of trying to build a friendship. And when you have a business relationship, asking the clients, you know, tell me how was your last visit, or why did you choose us? You can handle the response from that. But if you if you view them as a friend and they say, well, I don't like the way this happened, then you get, because we're so emotional. We got to take it personal. And that's what causes people not to do surveys and not to ask. But you have to do that. And you have to do it constantly. You know, you go to a fine restaurant. If you go to one of Gordon Ramsay's restaurants, you're going to get surveyed before you leave the restaurant. The maitre d' is going to come by and say, how was your meal? Sometimes the head chef will walk out and come and find out how was your meal. I mean, for me, the best way to show someone in our industry how to service consumers is to take them to one of those fine restaurants where they see that they go above and beyond. It's about that perceived value that really makes it feel like it's worthwhile. And you're willing to pay an extra $20 for the same entree that you would buy somewhere else for that extra bit of service.
And it's so interesting when the artist says, charge your worth. And my question is, so how do you quantify that? Please quantify that for me, because I need to understand what you're basing it on. I mean, I can cut and color like you can cut and color. So what is the difference that the customer is going to experience that they don't get from the person at Smart Styles or anywhere else?
That's right.
So, I mean, it's not just because you paid $21,000 for an education. I spent over $100,000 for my education.
Yes, ma'am.
And if I can't find a client who finds value at the price level that I want to be paid, it doesn't matter what I think I'm worth if nobody's willing to pay it.
That's right. You're right. Great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm very excited about this. So for you, those of you watching, we want you to know that Carla's going to be working with us. We're going to be promoting her programs. She's going to be giving us the opportunity to work with her circle of individuals. So we're combining our circles, so it will really help us a lot. We will, Carla, what is your website? What is that?
My website, well, this one is for my group.
Okay.
Yeah, it's I have a Facebook group that's designed for beauty and barber industry professionals, and all we talk in the group is about business. So a lot of times I saw on the different platforms where they had a business section, but it wasn't a business group for individuals. And so We Create is actually it's called We Create Elite, but if you can see that, they probably can see it straight, but it's bit.ly/join We Create, and 8, it's the number 8 for infinity.
All right.
Yeah, so our knowledge and our opportunities are infinite, so that's why there's an 8 represents infinity.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Great.
And so, but yeah.
So we're very excited, and you'll be seeing upcoming programs that we're going to be promoting for Carla. And so hopefully you found this beneficial today. I want to thank you all for tuning in. A couple of things we need to talk about to the Guru Village
housekeeping.
Yes, a little housekeeping. So first of all, we've kind of made the announcement, but I want everybody to be clear on what's happening with us and a company called USP who makes a product called F18. Those of you who watch me online, you know I love F18, and I have endorsed that product. I'm also working, we are at Guru Village, we're working with the folks who make that. They're called Ultimate Salon Professionals, and we are helping them to recruit, build, and develop their educational team. So you will see us a lot talking about F18 products, because that is their new product that they're launching into the industry. But remember that we keep total autonomy. Guru Village is still a brand neutral, non-branded educational company, but we are contracting with those folks to help them build their company. That's one of the things that's happened to us. We've had people reaching out to us, so it's really exciting in the last 2 years how things have grown. We also need to let everybody know that there's going to be a big announcement coming up. It'll be published on social media, but I want to let you know today is that we have formed an alliance with the Beauty Council of Western Canada, who cover 3 provinces: the province of British Columbia, the province of Alberta, and the province of Saskatchewan. Wow. And we are now offering to their affiliate members a special rate for education through Guru Village, and also Carla's education will be offered to those folks as well. Mm-hmm. And so if you're in Canada and you're watching this broadcast and you're not an affiliate member, it would behoove you, I think, to investigate that, because we also have an elite program for their affiliate members who wish to be on a yearly subscription program. They have all the details of that. It gives you a huge opportunity to have at least a 2-hour educational program every month for the entire year, plus huge discounts on our pre-recorded webinars and on our live online broadcast in our virtual classroom. So those of you in the Western Canada region, reach out to the Beauty Council of Western Canada. Let them know you want to know more information about that. We are so excited because now Little Guru Village has become Guru Nation. And we're moving and shaking, as they say.
Yes, we
are.
So
we're very excited about that. Now, Michael, we have some educational programs coming up here in the next month. Yes, our final.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We have Anthony Presotto out of Australia is teaching a class on October 16th at 12:30. Which is going to be great. It's going to be in a virtual classroom, and it's called Profit or Perish. And it's basically about pricing.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Pricing, making sure that you're pricing accurately, and how to formulate pricing. So, because a lot of people don't know that, right, Carla?
Right.
They don't even know how to start.
This is what they do. They saw a sign in somebody else's salon for a haircut, so that's what we're going to charge.
That's right.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, because we're going to compete, right?
Yes.
So then on October 22nd, we have Formulation Mashup. Now, you guys, Formulation Mashup is the program that Dennis has built for you, that have taken formulation foundations, and you have found you wanted more,
right?
Because you're that type of nerd. So I'm telling you, we have an AM class and a PM class on formulation mashup, which is basically formulation foundation part 2. Okay, that's on the 22nd.
That'll be the day after
Michael,
that's the day after my birthday, so I should be really wired up for that.
Yes, you should. You should be hungover. On the 23rd, we have, I'm teaching a class on velvet and champagne hair color. On the 29th, I'm teaching a class on alpine blondes. And then on the 30th of the month, the day before Halloween, we have an AM and PM class on swatching out your colors.
All right.
Again, we are doing another swatch out class because it was very successful and people wanted it. So that is it in a nutshell. It's all posted on our website at www.guruvillage.net, and it is under the education tab.
Great. Wonderful. I'm excited about that. So look, you know what, Carla, you know, one thing, you know, this is the 41st week of 2017, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, here we go.
We only have like 11 weeks left, yes?
Right, yes.
So what should somebody be doing right now to maximize the next 3 months? Because if they don't, this is when we make most of our income. What would you suggest that they do to maximize the next 3 months?
Give them a couple hot tips, my friend.
This is, and this one, I want you guys, you can write this down. The first thing that I would do is start looking at the advertisements that are already being promoted by retailers, and look at what type of promotion are they running. Can you run something very similar in your salon? So, I mean, you've got Black Friday coming up. Understand, I want you to look at the next, let's see, we've got 11 weeks, right? So let's just say the next 8 weeks. You're going to take this next 3 weeks of October, and let's start putting some plans in place for November's revenue and December's revenue. Because remember, January is going to be that long month. Everybody spent their money. So what I would recommend that they do is not only gift certificate, but I used to put up a Christmas tree. And I would give gifts in an envelope that had fake money, and they could pull fake money off the tree for them to use in the month of December on their services to drive them back so that I didn't have a flat month in January. And so that's one of the things, is maximize your opportunity for promotions during this period. I didn't say discount, I said promotions. So tie your regular prices with a promotional type of enhancement. And that would be the quickest thing for me. Understand what you're looking for. So plan out your revenue. Just don't show up and say, well, I got 6 people in the book when you need 32.
Right.
Figure out, know exactly what you need over the next 11 weeks. What average ticket price do you need to bring in for your client? And how many clients do you need to maximize that? And I would track it by the day. So I would definitely put it in for the month, break it down for the week, and then track it by the day to see how you're trending. Yeah.
Carla, what if they did this? What if they took the amount of clients they have that they know are coming in over the next 3 months?
Yes.
And they took the number that they needed to finish off their year. Divide that by the amount of clients you have coming in, and it tells you how much each client must spend extra in order to make your number.
Yes, and so if there's an extra in there, this is where the upsells come in. This is where maybe a retail promotion would come in. And this is where when I talk about retail, a lot of times salons make this one big mistake that I've seen over the years, is we just bundle stuff because it works for us, right? Well, we want to move this product. But look at your customer base. If you got a high color customer, run color certain product promotions. Don't run something that they don't need. So look at what your clientele or what category you're generating the majority of your money, and then bundle those particular retail items together for those services.
Great idea.
That's an easier way to get them into retail.
Or even 2 products they need and 1 they really don't.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So at least at the top of the list has to be what they need. You can always, the other one would be about
the other one is something you want something that they should use.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're trying.
Right. You want them to fall in love with that.
Yes.
Well, and that's something else that I didn't mention is we do have 3 programs coming up that are going to be webinars that they're going to be able to purchase on our website. And Megan Caraher is going to put her bling on the holiday season, how to merchandise and bling it up. You know, she's the queen of bling, and she is fantastic at it. So everything from special mocktails or drinks you should serve, you know, hot cocoa with a peppermint stick, that kind of stuff, just to, you know, again, added perceived value, right?
Yeah, holiday enhancement.
And then we have, Sandra Avila, and she is going to teach how to, like, 2 or 3 quick tips on color, you know, just something, you know, how to throw in a few color placement foils or something, I don't know, but something to get you to an add-on surface to your regular color. And then we have Lisa Enos from Georgia. Yes, she's going to be doing 3 holiday styles for you. So 3 formal updo styles that are quick and easy, and those are all going to be available on our website very, very soon. So
that's awesome.
Plus, we have some new webinars we just put up. We have Principles of Color, which is the Principles of Color. We have Code Breaker, which is color correction. We have The Secret of Connection, how to create an experience for your clients when they come into the salon. And we have the What's in It. So for you people who want to know what's in the hair color, what's the ingredient deck, I walked you through all the different ingredients and what their purpose and what their functions are. So those are all up on our website now. So you have lots of resources to draw from. So we're just very excited about that.
And you guys go to Carla's Facebook group and see her join We Create. Because I'm telling you, I don't know, we were on the phone with Carla, our first meeting. Dennis and Carla, how long did your first meeting last?
Over 2 hours. Yeah.
Because I said, I had to go, you guys.
He just left. He left us. He just left us.
I just left. I muted you guys, and I just went on about my business.
Yes. But, you know, I think the part of it is we are so passionate.
Right.
And I believe we're passionate in the right places, because for so long everything that we had been taught was always branded, right? We had to be part of the Paul Mitchells, or part of the Pravanas, or part of whoever, Joyco. But now what we're saying is, let's just embrace the knowledge, and you make the decision based on your needs.
You bet, absolutely.
Yeah. And so if we can empower them on the back end, it's easy for them to decide which product they want to use and why. They now know. Yeah.
Well, and by learning how to price things. And learning what your profit margins are. You know what you can afford for your area. You certainly can't use Kerastase if you're living in subsidized housing.
Well,
and that's your market. I mean, I'm just saying. You can't do that.
It's a valid, you know.
You gotta go by your area.
You do.
You know, you can't go to some little small town like the town I grew up in, 550 people. People there are not gonna buy Kerastase shampoo.
No.
They ain't gonna do it.
No.
Or Bay.
Yeah, and you think about the client that does use Kerastase is not the one who has a pig farm.
Right.
I mean, that they're actually out
working.
Working. I mean, seriously, that's the small area. So it's a farm town. So, you know, not that they can't afford it, but it just doesn't match their lifestyle.
No, and they're not going to do it.
No. So,
I mean, Dennis and I won't even buy Orbay after we looked up the price, right, Dennis?
Well, you know, it's a great bottle. It's a beautiful bottle and a great fragrance.
And I tell people all the time, you know, it's not about, you know, I hate when a hairstylist says that's so expensive about another hairstylist's work, because what I say to them is, so you're telling me you're not worth that much.
Amen.
So if someone wanted to pay you that much, are you saying you would not be worth that much? So as opposed to saying that's too much, the question should be, what do I have to do, or who do I have to serve to be able to charge that much, or to get that much for service? I think our mindsets around the whole pricing, and I think that's where we begin to bicker. Well, you can come to me, and I think it was I read a lot. Jack Welch, who was the former CEO.
Chrysler,
no, he was of
General Motors, General Electric. I'm sorry.
And so in his opening on one of his books, he says, if you have to compete on price, then there is no competition. You don't have a competitive product that the only thing you're competing on is price.
Right.
You will lose at a price competition every day of the week. So you have to compete on something else that drives value for the customer. And when you understand what they value, then you can understand what they'll spend. Yeah. And I think that's where we don't spend enough time, because we've just been taught we need a customer, but we've not been taught what type of customer do we need that will bring us the income or the revenue per average ticket price that we desire.
Right. Yeah. Great information. Yeah. All right, so listen, I want to thank you both so much for sharing time today. It's been great. Thank you, Carla, for being on.
Thank you.
And everyone watching, don't forget, if you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We're growing every day. And for those of you watching us on Facebook, if you need to reach out to us with more information, you can find us at www.guruvillage.net. And as I always say, from my heart to yours, I'm Captain Color. I'm out. How about you guys? Are you out?
I'm out.
Bye. Bye-bye.